Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So if you go to Lalima and you click on the folder with today's date, the HTML file in there, task complete project 2, I'm actually going to go over that second. I want to actually take a quick look at project 3. We're not going to do much on it, but if you go ahead and get started on it, then when we take it up next time, then you already have some things done on it. Okay, so I'm going to click on the proj3.html link. So let's just go over this. We'll go over this in a lot more detail. You're going to be making a simple web application. Okay, so it's going to have PHP scripts. Most of the code for the PHP scripts is already done for you, but the parts that are very important in terms of interacting with the database, then that's the parts that you're going to be responsible for writing. Okay, and of course, you'll get help in doing that. You won't have to do it from scratch, but that's part of what you need to do. The other big part is setting up the database, creating the SQL scripts, using the PLPG-SQL functions that you include with your SQL scripts in order to make your web application functional. Okay, so this is the kind of thing that you would be doing if you take CENT285. I don't think they're offering it next semester. They'll probably offer it again in the spring if you're still around. But this is the kind of thing that you would be doing. All right, so it goes over some things. One of the things we'll talk about is there's 4 PHP scripts that you're going to need to update, and all of them have comments in them that says you need to do something. Okay, so when we go over that part of it, we're not going to go over that today. You'll see which parts have to be updated. I'll help you with that part of it. You're still going to have to do some of it on your own. Okay, but that part should be, as long as you're attending class, relatively straightforward. Okay, so it shows a bunch of scripts, PHP scripts that are going to be for the project, but only 4 of them are not done. Okay, so the rest of them, there's 6 other scripts there. They're already completed, so you don't have to make any changes to them. But you need all of the PHP scripts for your application to work. Okay, so that's something that you need to get to eventually. Those scripts, the beginning part of it, so the ones that work correctly, the ones that need to be added to, you're going to be able to get a copy of those files, and I'll show you how to do that in a little while. Okay, then there's a init.sql, then there's a authfuncs.sql. The key thing to note at this point is that those authentication functions will rely on the PG crypto extension. Okay, so a very important setup step for the project is that you create the PG crypto extension inside of the database. Okay, and just moving forward a little bit, okay, you want to be able to store the following information. I set that up as an HTML table so you can copy and paste that to a text file, and then you can write a Python program so that it'll help you to insert those users in correctly. Okay, you're going to have to come up with passwords, but whatever passwords you choose should be fine. Okay, now one of the things that you need to do right at the top of what you're going to be graded on is set up for the project. So even though I just said it, let me mention it again. You're going to need to use the PG Crypto extension for this project. So in the setup, that needs to say, okay, that you're going to create the PG Crypto extension. You need to go through the steps of that. That's a very important requirement for the setup. Okay? So setup is worth 15 points. the PHP scripts, there's 4 of them that you have to update. If you update all of them correctly, that's 35 points. The SQL scripts, those are going to be things that are included either to add PLPG SQL functions or create the database tables or insert data into the tables. And the main data that needs to be inserted in, we'll go over this again, but I'll just mention it right now. You need to be able to insert data into the divisions table, okay, into the departments table, and then also the users table. Okay, there's going to be an additional table that you're going to be storing the requests that people are making. They're considering budget item requests. That's a basic idea, although you don't really need to understand much about that, except there's text for the request, and then there's also a cost for the request. Okay, the due date is Wednesday, May 1st by 10 p.m. So you should have adequate time if you're showing up to class on a regular basis. There's 3 questions that need to be answered. They're 5 points each. Okay, so as we are going on in the project, then you want to be revisiting those questions so that you are coming up with the correct answers to those things. Okay, so let's go through these steps right here, and then we'll return back to project 2. Okay, so the first thing is go to your main Docker docs folder. So I'm opening up Windows Explorer, and I'm going to get to my main Docker folder. Okay, and then I want to go inside of docs. And what we want to do is inside of the CENT280 folder and inside of the include folder, in both of those folders, we're going to create a project 3 folder. Okay, so let's do that here. I'm going to right click here, new folder, and I'm going to name it project 3. Okay, and that's inside the CENT280 folder, right? So we need that inside of there, the project 3. That's where your main PHP scripts are going to go, okay, because that's where they need to be for the web application to run, okay, because that gets mapped inside of the PHP Apache container, and in order to run PHP scripts, it has to be inside the PHP Apache container. Okay, then inside of include, we're also going to create a folder, and then that's project 3. Okay. And what we're doing is we're making sure that the sensitive information that goes into this folder, okay, the PHP script that allows you to connect to the backend PostgreSQL database, things like init.sql and so forth, they're located outside of the web document root. Okay, so they cannot be broadcast by Apache. Okay, so inside the docs folder, inside of CENT280, you got a project 3 folder. Inside of include, you have a project 3 folder. Okay, 2 separate project 3 folders. The one inside of CENT280 is where the main PHP scripts are going to go, and the one inside of include are where basically your SQL scripts and one PHP script, which is the one that allows you to connect to the backend database. That's where that's going to go. Okay, so that's a first step right here, just making those folders. Okay, now from resources, so we're going to go to resources, projects, project 3. So let me go to that on Laulima. Okay, there's a project 3.html file which we already have open, and then we have docs.zip, and what I'm going to do is just save this link to the desktop. Okay, and then what it says to do is unzip this, so extract this to the desktop, and copy the files from the include project 3 folder into the include project 3 folder inside of the main Docker area. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So first step, I'm here docs.zip, and what I'm going to do is go to 7-zip, and I'm just going to go extract files to docs. So I'll just do it this way, extract to docs, and then so that's this folder right here. Okay, so if you open up, the right one? Yeah, I guess so. Okay. Oh, sorry, docs already had the project one, so that's what threw me off. But there should be the two folders, CENT280, and then include, and then there's project one, but you can ignore that. That was already there. So when it extracted that stuff to that folder, that it left that one alone there. So let's go to CENT280 first, and then, yeah, that was also there from before, but we want to go inside the project 3 folder. Okay, so then there's going to be these 10 PHP scripts. So we'll select everything, so Control A to select everything. Then I'm going to copy it. Okay, then what I want to do is go to Documents, Docker, Main Docker folder, Docs, CENT280, Project 3, and then paste it. Okay, so I just moved all the stuff from the Project 3 folder of what I extracted into the Project 3 folder inside of CENT280, inside of Docs in the main thing. Then what I want to do, I'm going to go back to the desktop and to that folder, Docs. And I go into the Include directory, and then I go to Project 3, and there's just a few files in there. Okay, I'm going to highlight all of those and copy them, and then go back to my Include directory, and then go into the Project 3 directory, and then paste those files. Okay, so what you should have at the end of that, after you extracted it, is inside your main Docker folder, this is the main Docker folder, going into the Docs directory, inside of CENT280, you should have a Project 3 folder now, and inside of that, you should have all of these main PHP scripts. Okay, if I go back up to Docs, and I go to Include, and then the Project 3 folder, it'll just have these 4 files. One of them is project3.php. That's the file that we use to connect to the backend database. Okay, so what we should do before we forget, and this is another important step in setup, okay, so this is actually the third important step that we talked about. The one we mentioned earlier is you need to, when you set up the database, you need to add the PG Crypto extension. That needs to be done by super user. So that's one. Okay, second thing is that when you turn in your project, you're going to turn in a zip file just similar to the one that I have, except it's completed. And then you need to say, you need to copy these files from here. You need to create these folders, and you need to copy these files into these folders, just like what we just did. Okay, and then so the other step that's important is this file right here, project3.php. I'm going to open it with Genie. Let's see if I have, yeah, that's the only file. And the thing you need to check here is this host IP address correct or not, right? So to check on that, let me go ahead and open up a conemu terminal. I'm going to set the Docker machine environment variables, and then we'll take a look. Okay, so I set my environment variables, then I want to change into the main Docker folder, and then what I can do is I can check, right, so I go Docker, network, ls, so I list all the networks, and the main Docker one has an ID that starts with 2A06F3. So if I go Docker network inspect, and I put that ID 2A06F3 on my machine, and then I pass it to group regular expression and I look for gateway. Then it says 172.19.0.1. So this system is different from the one that I have at home. So I need to update that. Okay, so this has to be 19. Okay, so that's an important step in the setup, right? Changing that, because you don't know what the IP address is going to necessarily be on whatever computer that I tested on, right? It would be different if it were in my office, different if it's on my home computer. So that's a third important step in the setup. Okay, and then, so I changed that, and let me come back to this. Okay, so we copied the files there, and then the last step that I want to do today for project 3 is I'm going to go into the Postgres SQL container, SQL container, and then I'm going to create a database called project3_db, right? That's the name that this expects it to be, project3_db, and owner of Bob. And then I'm going to add the PG crypto extension. Okay, so this is kind of low on the screen, so just look at it on your monitor. But I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to start up the Docker containers. Okay, so Docker compose up-d. And then when that starts up, I'm going to enter into the Postgres SQL container, and then we'll create the database and create the PG crypto extension. Okay, so I log in as a super user for the Postgres SQL server, PGSQL_man, and I need to be connected as a super user first to create the database. And then to assign Bob as the owner of that database. Then I need to change into that database. It's very important. If I go create extension PG crypto right now, it's going to create it for the CENT280DB database, which doesn't hurt, but it doesn't help you either, right? What you need to do is create it for the project database. So \C means you're going to change database. What you need to do is put the name of the database that you're changing to. You once again enter the super user's password, PGSQL_man. And now I'm in the project 3 database. I'm connected as super user. That's why you see the pound symbol in the prompt instead of greater than sign. And then so I'm going to go create extension PG crypto. Okay. And then after I hit an enter on that, it creates the extension. Now let's check a little bit, right? We just added the extension. So I'm going to do \A so that the format is unaligned. Then I'll do \DF, and then you're going to see all those functions there that were added in by saying create extension PG crypto. Okay, so if you got to that point, that's the basic setup that we need to do for project 3. And that's as far as I want to get So I'm just gonna say, well, actually, I don't need to exit from there because we're gonna make use, just look at a few things with respect to project 2 in order to get things done. So I'll just leave that open for now. Okay, and then that's it. Okay, so these steps right here, those are the steps that I just went through. Okay, remember you gotta change into the project 3 underscore DB database before you create the PG crypto extension. Okay, so 3 things that we went over just there are very important for the setup, right? You need to modify the project3.php file because the host name, the host IP address is most likely different on the machine that I'm testing it on versus the one you're working with inside the lab. Okay, so that's one thing. You got to create the PG crypto extension, right? Create the database, create the PG crypto extension inside of it. And then you need to say something about copying the files into the correct location. Okay, so those are all important stuff. Make sure that you at least note down that that has to go into the setup. Okay, any questions on just the intro to project 3? Okay, so let's look back at project 2. Okay, I'm going to click on proj2.html and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. And then I did update this just a little bit just so that things are a little bit clearer. Okay, so you need to create SQL scripts, init.sql. Okay, so you must have created that by now. Insert funcs.sql, add salesview.sql. If you named yours salesview.sql, then it's that file. Okay, it's just the one that adds the sales view into there. Okay, and then also one that adds your initial data in. The add initial data.sql should add in the cars data, the customers data, and also the sales data, right? All 3 of those tables basically should get populated after running that. Okay, include the source code in, it's a Word, a Microsoft Word or LibreOffice Writer, doesn't matter. Just code for project2.py. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then include the SQL scripts. Okay, so init.sql, insert funcs.sql, salesview.sql or add salesview.sql, and add initial data.sql. Just copy and paste that into that same Word or LibreOffice Writer document. Okay, and then you need some screenshots showing the results of performing select queries on the database. And then you should show a view of all the sales, a view of all the cars, and a view of all the customers. Okay, so let's go over that. In order to run my project2.py folder, I have to start up MOBA Xterm. And then I need to also export the display variable. So I'm going to wait until the X server actually starts. Okay, it starts up. Okay, so I know it is because if I move the mouse over it, I hover it, then I can see the value of the display variable that I'm supposed to use. Okay, so I come back here to my terminal. And I set this display environment variable. Okay, remember your display environment variable will have a different value because yours is not computer 100. Yours is whatever computer number you're sitting at. Okay, so then I'm going to go into my project2 directory and I'm going to run my project2.py. Okay, so I'm going to connect to my proj2_db database as Bob. And I think I have my data in there already, so I can start querying it. So I want to show all the cars. Okay. So all you need to do is get a screenshot of this. Let me make this a little bigger. All right, so just go in and grab a screenshot of this. Okay, so I'll just go rectangular snip and just grab this area here and then copy and paste that into my document. That's the cars. Okay, so I'm not going to save mine, but then that's what you should just copy and paste it. Select star from customers. Okay, customers, make a screenshot of that. And then my name for the view is sales view. And then so you just make a screenshot of this. So 3 screenshots. Select star from cars, select star from customers, select star from sales view. You copy and paste those screenshots into that Word or LibreOffice Writer document. Okay? And that's what you need to do for that portion of it. Okay, let me just minimize this. Okay, so that takes care of number 4. And then the last part is just answering those questions there. And then that's what you turn in. Okay, what you want to do, okay, is create that document. Okay, so on Laulima, okay, create a folder called Project 2 inside of your Dropbox. Okay, then upload the following files: proj2.py, init.sql, add salesview.sql. If you just called it salesview.sql, then just upload that. You don't have to change the name. Okay, and add initial data.sql. Okay, those are the ones that you need. There's also stuff to insert the functions, but everybody's using the one you just copied and pasted from the web page itself, so you don't have to upload that. Okay, but init.sql, add salesview.sql, add initial data.sql, those you had to come up with on your own. So those should be uploaded along with project2.py into the project 2 folder. And then the Word document or LibreOffice document that has all those requirements that we just talked about, put that in the same folder. Okay, so when you upload everything onto Laulima, okay, you should have 5 files, right? Project2.py, those 3 SQL scripts, and then the Word or LibreOffice document, right? That is a documentation for the project. Okay, any questions on what you need to do to complete Project 2? Okay, so what I highly recommend first, make sure your proj2.py is working correctly. That's a high priority. Once you know that it's working correctly, then use it to generate those screenshots, and then save those screenshots into a Word document, right? And then upload proj2.py to your Laulima Dropbox. If you think that you might still need to make some changes, and after lab is over, then move it into our working files area, right? Don't turn it inside the Project 2 folder. But whatever you need to, move it up to Laulima so that when you leave today, you still can go and work on some of those things, and then you can still submit it finally, right? Don't do something like, oh, you had it all done, you leave here, you forgot to upload it to Laulima, and then you have no way to come back here at night to upload it, right? So make sure your project2.py and whatever else you need to have that are on these computers, you put it into a working files folder on your Dropbox, so you have all of that available to you should you need to make any additional changes or anything. If you got it all done, then just upload it into a folder called Project 2 inside of your Dropbox, then you're done, right? But if it's not all done, put it into a working files folder so that when you go home, you still can make some changes and then upload that finally to your Project 2 folder. Don't leave it in the working files folder. When you're turning it in, move it into the Project 2 folder inside of your Dropbox. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, then that's basically what I wanted to cover. Then if you have questions on your individual project, then I'll be coming around and then I'll take a look at what you have. Okay?